On the eve of our wedding, my fiancé Kevin suddenly brought back his childhood sweetheart and unattainable dream girl, Violet. Without consulting me, Kevin let Violet move into our newlywed home that we had prepared for the marriage. He then told me he'd have no time to prepare the wedding with me because he needed to take care of Violet. Being the understanding person that I am, I gently reminded Kevin that if he had no time for marriage, we should postpone the wedding first. Without waiting for Kevin's reply, I went to his immediate superior, retrieved our marriage application, tore it to pieces, and threw it into a filthy ditch. The bitterness of loving Kevin, I've had my fill of it in my past life. In this lifetime, I won't marry him again. Later, Kevin took the initiative to propose to me, but I coolly told him that I was getting married, to his immediate superior. Hannah, I'm afraid I won't be able to plan the wedding with you. Violet's current condition requires me to be by her side constantly, so you'll have to handle all the wedding preparations alone. One moment I was struggling in the icy river water, experiencing despair and death, and the next moment I heard Kevin's voice. I stared blankly at Kevin until he repeated himself before I finally processed his words. I had been reborn to this exact moment when Kevin came to discuss having me plan the wedding alone so he could take care of Violet. In my previous life, Kevin had brought Violet home just 2 weeks before our wedding. He had unilaterally decided to settle her in our marital home before coming to discuss her arrangements with me. He had already made up his mind long before discussing it with me, he was just here to inform me. Kevin said Violet had suffered some unspeakable experiences and was dealing with severe psychological issues, and only he could comfort her. Kevin mentioned that he owed a debt of gratitude to Violet's family, so to repay their kindness, he had to help her recover. In my previous life, I loved Kevin and believed everything he said without question. My sympathy immediately overwhelmed me, and I agreed to help Kevin take care of Violet and support her recovery. Violet couldn't be without Kevin, she needed his company every moment. I planned my wedding with Kevin all by myself, and on the day of the ceremony, Violet suddenly fell ill and fainted at the venue. Groom Kevin abandoned me to urgently rush Violet to the hospital in his arms. After Kevin and Violet left, they never returned, leaving me alone to force smiles for our guests. I barely managed to complete the wedding ceremony alone, initially thinking Violet fainting during our nuptials was just coincidence. Little did I know Violet's subsequent episodes would become increasingly frequent and unbelievable. She'd suddenly collapse unconscious at our bedroom door just as Kevin and I were preparing for sleep. She'd frequently summon Kevin away from me, his wife, during nights by feigning fear, leaving me alone 2 or 3 times a week. Kevin spent all our combined salary savings on Violet. He waited on her hand and foot, completely neglecting his actual wife. My heart aches, but because I love Kevin, I have been silently enduring it. I always thought that once Violet's illness was cured, Kevin and I would return to the sweet and loving relationship we once had. But I was terribly wrong. 2 years after marrying Kevin, I became pregnant. When I was 3 months along, Violet used the excuse of a relapse to push me down from the attic. I lost the child, and my husband had no time to comfort me. Instead, he stayed by Violet's side throughout her episode. I couldn't understand why Kevin could be so cruel and heartless to me, until later when Violet revealed the truth to me. Violet said that she and Kevin were childhood sweethearts, but they separated for various reasons. Now, they had rekindled their old flame and were ready to be together. Violet said she wasn't sick at all, that she had been faking it all along to keep Kevin. Like a bolt out of the blue, I couldn't accept such a thing. So I went to Kevin and told him about Violet's pretense of illness, asking him to make a choice and send Violet away. Kevin refused, and Violet staged a suicide attempt to frame me and ruin my reputation. Kevin chose to believe Violet, thinking I was the one who drove her to suicide. He said my mind was filthy and I wasn't worthy of being his wife. To protect Violet from my alleged bullying, he heartlessly sent me to the countryside to reflect on my mistakes. The heavy farm work left me breathless, and every day I had to endure all sorts of hardships and bullying. In the end, on a cold winter night, I slipped and fell into the icy river, never to see the sun rise again. After confirming I had a second chance, I didn't take full responsibility for the wedding preparations like I did in my previous life when Kevin asked. Instead, I told him, I've been quite busy with work lately and don't have time to plan the wedding. Kevin was taken aback for a moment before asking, then what about our wedding? In my past life, I couldn't see through the man before me. I thought he loved me just as I loved him, and because of so-called love, I wove myself a beautiful fairy tale, diving deep into it and taking on all the wedding preparations myself. Kevin didn't spend a single thought on it throughout. I was too foolish in my past life, burying myself for the sake of love. Since I've been given a chance to start over in this life, I'll settle every single matter with him, one by one. The first thing, of course, is to break off the engagement with Kevin. The wedding definitely won't happen. I said calmly, if it really can't be helped, then let's postpone the wedding. Postpone? Kevin looked at me incredulously. He knew exactly how much I wanted to marry him. Before Violet came along, I had been counting the stars and waiting for the moon, longing to become his wife. Now that I had actually taken the initiative to propose postponing the wedding, Kevin was very surprised. He tentatively asked me, Hannah, are you angry? No, I'm not angry. Kevin didn't believe me. He was convinced I was upset because he was taking care of Violet. He actually went out of his way to explain to me, Hannah, I owe Violet's family too much, I have to help her. My feelings for her are just about repaying a debt of gratitude. The one I love is you. In my past life, I believed Kevin's nonsense, which ultimately cost me my life. This time around, his words couldn't stir any emotion in me. I simply offered an understanding reminder, I know you have a kind heart, and I know you're only helping Violet out of gratitude. Since Violet gets sick when she's away from you, you should hurry back to take care of her, just in case something happens. Kevin tried to explain further, but I pushed him out the door. I just remembered there's something urgent I need to take care of at the office. He opened his mouth but ultimately left helplessly. After sending Kevin away, I rushed straight to his military unit. Our marriage application had already been submitted for a week. I had to find a way to retrieve and destroy that marriage application. This lifetime, I absolutely wouldn't marry Kevin. Retrieving the marriage application was a harrowing process. I located the clerk who originally processed our documents and used incomplete paperwork as an excuse to have her help me retrieve it. The clerk informed me the application had long been forwarded to Kevin's superior, Colonel James. By my calculations, Colonel James should have already approved it by now. Upon hearing this, I broke out in a cold sweat. A military marriage application is no trivial matter, it's protected by law. If Kevin's and my marriage report were approved, I would have no power to change the outcome of marrying him. I shamelessly pleaded with the staff, saying every kind word I could think of, almost kneeling. The staff agreed to help me inquire and see if they could retrieve it. While the staff went to check for me, I was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. After waiting about half an hour, the staff finally appeared and handed me the marriage report I had submitted. I took it, thanked her profusely, and quickly left. On the way back, I found a secluded spot, tore the marriage report to shreds, and threw it into a filthy ditch. With the matter of the marriage report settled, the next thing I had to prepare for was cutting ties with Kevin. I rushed nonstop to the marital home I shared with Kevin. Pushing open the door, I saw no one in the living room. Striding straight to the master bedroom, I threw open the door and immediately spotted someone lying on our marital bed. It could be no one but Violet. The house Kevin and I got married in was allocated by the military. Yet everything for our wedding was purchased by me. I remember in my previous life, Kevin brought Violet back and let her move directly into our marital home. Violet had the audacity to use every single item I'd prepared for our wedding without hesitation. She even used mine and Kevin's marital bed and wedding quilt without so much as asking first. In my past life, when Kevin arranged for Violet to stay in our marital home, he clearly told me she would be staying in the guest room and wouldn't touch anything in the master bedroom. Although I wasn't particularly happy about outsiders moving into our marital home first, considering Violet's poor health and pitiful background, I suppressed my displeasure. For my first meeting with Violet, I specially bought gifts to visit her. But when I arrived at the marital home, I found Violet lying completely at ease on the marital bed in the master bedroom that belonged to Kevin and me. My shock at that moment was beyond words. Trembling with anger, I confronted her, demanding to know why she was lying on our marital bed. Instead of answering my question, Violet pretended to be frightened, had an episode where she foamed at the mouth, and ended up soiling all the wedding beddings we had prepared. And then Kevin, who arrived shortly after, immediately went to comfort her by holding her in his arms. He even blamed Violet's so-called episode on me, saying it was caused by my actions. In my past life, I never imagined all of this was Violet's deliberate scheme. Now that I've been given a second chance, I want to see how she plans to perform this act. Hearing the door open, Violet, who had been lying on the bed, immediately sat up. She calmly met my gaze. With the experience from my previous life, I felt neither anger nor rage, just a cold, composed stare directed at Violet. I clearly saw the fleeting glint of spiteful mockery in Violet's eyes. "Who are you? Who gave you permission to sleep in my wedding bed?" Just like in my previous life, I voiced my accusation. But before the words fully left my mouth, Violet clutched her chest and started foaming at the mouth. Last time, seeing her foam at the mouth had shocked me. As a doctor, I'd panicked and rushed to give her emergency treatment. This time, I also rushed forward quickly, but not to save Violet. Instead, I grabbed her by the hair and yanked her violently off the bed. Seeing me charge toward her, Violet assumed I was coming to her rescue. She let her guard down completely, continuing to foam at the mouth, until I dragged her by the hair and slammed her hard into the wardrobe. Only then did she realize what I was really doing. Violet let out a pained shriek and dropped the act, trying to fight back. But she had miscalculated, leaving herself at a complete disadvantage. The hatred from being framed in my past life fueled me as I gripped her hair and smashed her head against the wardrobe again and again with brutal force. Violet was shorter than me and completely at a disadvantage, disoriented after just a few blows from me. She let out agonized wails and desperately clawed at me. My hands inevitably got scratched, but I had no intention of letting go. The suffering she had framed and inflicted on me in my past life wouldn't be so easily forgotten. I continued striking her mercilessly, blow after blow, until Violet finally passed out from the assault. Only when I saw Violet genuinely unconscious did I release her. She collapsed limply to the floor, and I let out a cold laugh as I looked at her motionless body. I swiftly stripped Violet naked, then stepped outside and raised my voice to shout, "Someone help. There's a mentally ill person self-harming in my house." Hearing my cries, neighbors came swarming from all directions. Completely naked Violet was urgently carried downstairs and sent to the hospital. I followed them to the hospital, vividly describing the episode Violet had to those accompanying her along the way. As soon as I opened the door, I saw her lying naked on the master bed, foaming at the mouth, banging her head against the wall repeatedly. Kevin told me she's not right in the head and has been undergoing treatment. I simply added a little extra spice to what Kevin had told me when sharing the truth with the curious neighbors. Everyone heard that Violet, a single woman, was arranged by Kevin to move into the wedding house we prepared for marriage, and she was lying on our wedding bed without a stitch of clothing. Everyone's gaze toward me changed. I could sense them looking at me as if I were a fool. I knew my exaggeration had already taken effect. In my previous life, I didn't amplify the fact that Violet stayed in the wedding house Kevin and I prepared, so no one knew about this incident. Now that I'd brought this matter into the open, Kevin's childhood friend lying stark naked on the wedding bed Kevin and I prepared, what kind of situation is this? I knew that within 2 hours, this incident would spread across a 10-kilometer radius. And there would be various embellished versions, each one undoubtedly scandalous. After all, what decent person would lie naked on someone else's wedding bed? And what kind of fiancé suddenly brings another young woman to live in their marital home? Violet and Kevin's affair would soon become the juiciest gossip in town. But this was only the first step. After all, the suffering I endured in my past life must be repaid in full, with interest. When Kevin got the news and rushed to the hospital, Violet was still unconscious. The moment he saw me, he roared, "What happened? Why is Violet unconscious and hospitalized? Violet might be having an episode." When I arrived, she was completely naked, banging her head against the wardrobe, foaming at the mouth, and then she actively attacked me. I showed Kevin my hand that had been scratched by Violet. Seeing her like that terrified me. I rushed forward to stop her, but she wouldn't listen. "Look what she did to my hand." Kevin stared blankly at my scratched hand. "She was self-harming during her episode and attacked you too?" "Yes, her episode was terrifying. Naked, self-harming, attacking me, it scared me to death." Before I could finish speaking, Violet woke up. Inside the room, Violet was screaming loudly, making Kevin worried that she might rush in to see what was happening. I heard Violet crying to Kevin, accusing me of hitting her. Originally, she had intended to intimidate me, but she miscalculated and ended up being the one who got beaten, humiliated in front of everyone. Violet's fury was understandable. She wailed pitifully to Kevin, complaining about me, saying I barged in and hit her without any reason, that I was vicious, that I wanted to kill her. Everything she said was true, but Kevin didn't believe her. After all, I'm famously good-tempered, why would I hit her for no reason? Kevin always believed Violet was truly ill, so he thought everything was just hallucinations from her episode. Kevin gently comforted Violet, trying to calm her down. Violet kept crying and making a scene until Kevin finally promised to punish me as the perpetrator before she finally quieted down. Having seen enough of this drama, I left the hospital directly and returned to my dorm. The incident with Violet caused quite a stir, and along the way people kept asking me about what happened. To every person I met, I explained the situation, making sure to spread the story of Kevin and Violet far and wide. By the time Kevin found time to leave the hospital and come find me, he noticed everyone was looking at him differently. Still unaware of what was wrong, his first thought was, once again, about Violet. Violet's current state is due to her illness, Hannah. Please be more tolerant and don't take it personally. Why would I hold it against a patient? It's just that her condition seems very serious, with violent and self-harming tendencies. As a doctor, I suggest sending her for a thorough examination. Where should we take her for the examination? Kevin asked in return. How about sending her to a psychiatric center for a checkup? Kevin naturally disagreed. She's not mentally ill, she's just suffering from trauma after being hurt. Is that so? It's best if she's not mentally ill. What just happened was absolutely terrifying. I'm worried such incidents might recur. I had to lay the groundwork early. After all, dealing with Violet once wouldn't be enough. In my past life, I endured 3 whole months of torment before drowning in that river. No matter what, I must repay every bit of suffering I endured. Seeing that I remained emotionally stable and didn't argue with him, Kevin actually made an unreasonable demand of me. Hannah, Violet is having an episode and can't distinguish the cause. She keeps thinking you attacked her. She's emotionally unstable right now. How about you go apologize to her and calm her down? I stared fixedly at Kevin. My gaze made him so uncomfortable that he actually avoided my eyes. Hannah, just do this for me, okay? I know it's asking a lot. Once we're married we'll be one. I felt sick listening to him. Cutting him off, I said, fine. If it's just an apology you want, I'll go apologize to her. Seeing me agree readily, Kevin breathed a sigh of relief, then added, Hannah, Violet isn't in a stable mental state right now. She might say hurtful things to you or give you unpleasant orders. If she goes too far, please bear with it for my sake, I'm begging you. I looked at Kevin's guilt-ridden face, my heart turning as cold as ice. To have fallen for such a person in my past life, I truly deserved that death, didn't I? Since he's so devoted to Violet, how could I possibly tear them apart? No matter what, I must keep these 2 despicable people locked together. I agreed to Kevin's request to visit Violet in the hospital and apologize, but I insisted he accompany me. Kevin followed me to the hospital entrance but was called away for an emergency assignment. As he was leaving, he still didn't forget to repeatedly remind me, "Hannah, you must endure it, absolutely must not provoke Violet." I obediently agreed and watched Kevin's figure disappear before quickly entering the hospital building. In the hospital room, Violet sat alone by the head of the bed, her head tightly bandaged. Hearing the door open, she turned to look. When she saw it was me, her eyes filled with hatred. She viciously called out my name, "Hannah, you've finally come." I turned and closed the door behind me before walking toward Violet. "Kevin sent me to apologize to you." "How do you want me to apologize?" Violet glared at me with venom. "Hannah, why did you hit me? Didn't you deserve it?" I looked down at her coldly. Entering the master bedroom of my marital home without permission, lying on my wedding bed, and using my wedding items, I hit you just to remind you to learn some manners. You. Violet trembled with rage at my words. "Hannah, you bitch. I won't let this go today. If you want my forgiveness, you'll have to kneel and apologize to me." "Just kneeling will do?" I asked with a smile. Violet thought she had me cornered. "Of course that's not all, besides kneeling, you'll also have to." Her demands were cut off as I interrupted. "Enough. I've heard all about your situation from Kevin. He says you're sick, and that only Kevin can soothe your illness? As someone who studied medicine myself, I've never heard of such a condition. Are you sure you're not faking it as an excuse to steal my man?" Violet's expression instantly froze when I exposed her thoughts. How could I have guessed that she was faking her illness, something so well hidden? I stared at her unblinkingly and dropped another bombshell. "I know you're trying to seduce Kevin. You see that Kevin got promoted and want to marry him, so you came up with this excuse of faking an illness to get close to him. Kevin is foolish enough to believe you, but I'm not that easy to fool. Do you know how I'll deal with a disgusting thing like you?" Violet didn't know how I would deal with her, still in shock from being caught faking her illness. As soon as I finished speaking, I quickly strode over, grabbed her by the hair, and began slapping her face repeatedly. Violet had always thought I came to apologize to her, never in her wildest dreams imagining that I knew about her fake illness and had come to hit her again. I flipped Violet over and slapped her more than a dozen times at lightning speed, then dragged her off the bed and kicked her violently several times. Violet's face twisted in pain as she screamed hoarsely, "Help! Someone help! Hannah's attacking me!" I kicked her several more times with all my strength, then stopped abruptly when I heard footsteps in the hallway and ran quickly out of the ward. I came face to face with nurses who heard Violet's cries for help. "Quick! The patient is having another episode. She's self-harming again and attacked me too." I rushed out of the hospital room with my buttons torn off, the hair tie snapped, leaving my hair in disarray, and my clothes ripped, clearly looking like I'd been attacked. The nurse who knew me well asked, "Hannah, are you okay?" She hit me several times. Luckily I ran fast enough. "Hurry up and give her a sedative." No one would believe I'd attack Violet, the patient. Several nurses swarmed in to restrain the howling Violet and administered a sedative. As Violet fell unconscious, the nurses collectively sighed in relief. "Hannah, why did this patient attack you?" one of the nurses asked me. "I don't know either. My fiancé said she's mentally ill and needs placating, so he told me to come apologize and admit fault to her." "Why do you need to apologize and admit fault?" "She keeps insisting that I hit her, refusing to acknowledge she was self-harming while attacking others. She demanded my fiancé make me kneel and apologize to her, or else she'd kill herself." "What? What kind of condition is this? I've never heard of it before." "I don't know either. That's why I came to apologize to her as my fiancé told me to." Just as I was about to kneel before her, she suddenly went berserk. It scared me to death. "That's absolutely terrifying. But why did she only go crazy at you?" another nurse asked curiously. I sighed and put on an embarrassed expression. "I'll only tell you this, but you mustn't spread it around." The nurses all nodded in agreement. I lowered my voice. "When she was hysterical just now, she said she used to be in a relationship with my fiancé. They were planning to get married but were forced to separate due to an accident. Then she was abused by her husband, so my fiancé took pity on her and brought her here to take care of her. The nurse's eyes widened at first, and soon their gazes toward me were filled with sympathy. After all, my fiancé brought his ex-girlfriend here to take care of her, and this ex-girlfriend only attacks me, the fiancé. It's not even my fault, yet my fiancé still made me apologize. I'm really being too much of a pushover. Under the sympathetic gazes of the nurses, I left the hospital. They say 3 women make a drama. Next, the story of Kevin and Violet will be endlessly exaggerated. When Kevin returns, he'll be in for a very, very big surprise. Kevin returned 3 days later. Without even catching his breath, he rushed to the hospital to visit Violet. Violet's face was still swollen like a pig's head, and the moment she saw Kevin, she started wailing about how I had beaten her. At first, Kevin didn't believe Violet's words, but then she told him, "Hannah has been spreading rumors everywhere that you and I have an improper relationship. Even the nurses giving me 4 drips are gossiping about me, saying I ruined your relationship with Hannah. It's so humiliating. I can't go on living like this." Seeing Violet's desperate theatrics, Kevin felt heartbroken. He wasn't entirely convinced by her story, but she delivered it with such dramatic flair. Plus, the doctors and nurses he passed in the hallway had given him strange looks when he arrived. Kevin couldn't help but start to believe Violet's claims. He needed to confront Hannah and get to the bottom of this. With this thought burning in his mind, he hurried straight to the doctor's office to find Hannah. When Kevin pushed the door open, I was in the middle of examining a patient. He stormed in with a gloomy face. I looked at him with surprise. "You're back? I have something to say to you." "What is it? Can't you see I'm busy? Let's talk after I finish work." My tone was very unpleasant. I had always been very gentle and obedient toward Kevin and had never spoken a harsh word to him. Suddenly speaking to him so coldly and fiercely, how could Kevin possibly be used to it? "Hannah, how did you apologize to Violet?" Kevin pressed aggressively. I sneered back, "Apologize for what? Why should I apologize when I did nothing wrong? You promised me. Why did you change your mind? Why did you bully Violet? Her face is swollen from your hitting." I immediately shouted, "Kevin, what the hell do you mean? You're going too far. Not only did you bring a strange woman home to live in our wedding house and let her bully me, but now you want me to apologize to her? What exactly am I supposed to apologize for?" As I raised my voice, Kevin's face turned ashen. "So what Violet said is actually true? You've really been spreading rumors about us? Hannah, you've really disappointed me." "Disappointed? How dare you say that? I'm the one who should be disappointed. You brought your ex-girlfriend home without even telling me, letting her stay in our wedding house to embarrass me, and you even allowed her to lay hands on me. I haven't even confronted you about it yet. Tell me, Kevin, what exactly is your relationship with Violet? Did you 2 used to date? Were you planning to get married?" I pressed him aggressively, and Kevin's face darkened like the bottom of a pot. With so many people watching, he had nowhere to hide his embarrassment. Seeing the patient still watching us with a gossipy expression, he flew into a rage out of humiliation, shoved the patient out, and slammed the door shut. It wasn't just me who was embarrassed by this public scene. Kevin, with a dark expression, drove all the patients out. He even closed the door and then sternly scolded me, "So all those rumors outside are your doing? Hannah, you've disappointed me so much. You must give me an explanation for this, or don't blame me for what happens next." I raised my voice, "Kevin, what are you trying to do? Are you breaking up with me for Violet's sake?" "That's right. If you don't explain this matter clearly, our engagement is off." As Kevin's threatening words fell, I raised my hand and slapped him across the face. The sharp smack left 5 clear fingerprints on his cheek. He froze, never in his wildest dreams expecting me to strike him. I slapped him once, then immediately followed up with another to make it an even number. Kevin reacted swiftly, blocking it and catching my wrist midair. It was a shame that second slap didn't land on his face. My uncharacteristic aggression, both the verbal assault and physical strikes, pushed Kevin to his limit. "Hannah, have you lost your mind?" he roared in furious disbelief. I offered no reply. Instead, as Kevin restrained my wrists, I abruptly raised my knee and delivered a sharp kick to his groin. Still reeling from my sudden violent outburst, he took the full impact. His face instantly turned ashen. Releasing my hands in agony, he doubled over while I clutched my head and bolted for the door, screaming hysterically. "Help! Violence! Kevin's assaulting me!" I yelled loudly while dashing through the corridor like a rabbit, quickly disappearing out of sight. Kevin, his face pale with anger, endured the excruciating pain below as he limped out of the doctor's office. Outside in the corridor, a crowd had already gathered upon hearing the news, whispering and discussing among themselves. "How could he hit someone? It's just outrageous. Yeah, he actually hit a woman. How could he lay a hand on someone as kind as Hannah? I heard he hit Hannah because of another woman on the side. That's right. I heard he even moved his mistress into the wedding home he prepared with Hannah. That woman is even sleeping in their marital bed now. And then he played crazy and hit Hannah, forcing her to apologize. This is outrageous. Absolutely scandalous behavior. You don't know the half of it? That woman is now in the hospital too. Last time when Hannah came to apologize to her, she attacked Hannah again. If we hadn't arrived quickly, Hannah would have been in grave danger." The gossip reached Kevin's ears, making him even angrier. He roared gruffly, "What are you all crowding around for? Get out of the way!" The crowd scattered like birds and beasts, leaving Kevin with a suffocating mix of anger and frustration. He couldn't understand why I had suddenly turned so hostile, questioning him sharply and even resorting to violence. They say when hitting someone, avoid the face, but not only did I slap his face, I also targeted his most vulnerable spot. The more Kevin thought about it, the angrier he became. Meanwhile, Violet, hearing the commotion from her hospital room, came out to see what was happening. She had only heard that Kevin had hit me and didn't know the full story. The thought of Kevin laying a hand on me made Violet secretly delighted. She quickly made her way through the crowd toward Kevin and asked with concern, "Kevin, you?" Seeing Violet approach Kevin with her swollen face and a coquettish demeanor, the onlookers couldn't help but click their tongues. "So this is the other woman?" "Exactly. Calling him so intimately and getting handsy in front of everyone, who knows what they'd do without an audience." Hearing the gossip, Violet froze mid-motion while Kevin flushed with embarrassment and anger. Damn it, how had these rumors spiraled so out of control? He needed to find Hannah and have a serious talk with her. She had to clarify these baseless rumors, or this scandal could ruin his political career. After fleeing the hospital, I found a hiding place. I knew Kevin would come looking for me. He must have heard those vicious rumors. They say rumors can kill, and Kevin would never tolerate any blemish on his reputation. Not when he's aiming for promotions, not when he's climbing the career ladder. In my past life, Violet framed me for spreading lies about her alleged affair with Kevin, then faked suicide to blow things out of proportion. To quell the scandal, rather than sending Violet away, Kevin chose to silence me, his own partner, with lethal methods. Kevin pinned all the blame on me, making everyone believe I'd fabricated the accusations out of malice, that I was the scheming one trying to destroy their reputations with filthy lies. In the end, I was suspended after an organizational review, and Kevin, fearing his tainted wife would hinder his promotion, took the moral high ground by sending me to suffer in the countryside. This time around, Kevin already knows the rampant rumors are severely damaging his reputation. Under these circumstances, to protect his career advancement, his first thought would undoubtedly be to sacrifice me again to clear his name. He'll surely search for me everywhere, trying every means to persuade me into rehabilitating his image. But how could I possibly stumble over the same stone twice? I absolutely won't let Kevin find me. Having been reborn, I haven't forgotten a single thing from my past life. An eye for an eye, I won't spare Kevin and Violet, the masterminds behind it all. The suffering I endured in my past life must be repaid in kind, that's only fair. So I can't let Kevin find me now. I must hide well and bide my time to deliver them a grand gift. Kevin searched for me extensively outside, interrogating everyone who knew me and even going to my dormitory. Yet, as night fell, he still hadn't found me. He staked out my dorm until well past 10 o'clock, but I never returned. Kevin thought of our marital home, his intuition told him I'd retreated there to hide. Without delay, he rushed to the house. From a distance, he could see the lights on through the windows. Convinced I was inside, Kevin shoved the door open in a rage. "Hannah, you." After clearly seeing the bruised and battered woman in the house, Kevin stopped mid-sentence. "Why did you come back from the hospital?" Violet's eyes welled up with tears. "I couldn't stay there. The people at the hospital were all saying terrible things about me, pointing fingers and whispering. I just couldn't take it anymore, Kevin, I really couldn't." Kevin looked at Violet with deep concern. "Have you eaten?" "No, I was worried about you. I don't know anyone or anything around here, so I just came back to wait for you. By the way, Kevin, have you found Hannah?" "No. She's hiding somewhere, I don't know where." Kevin sat down irritably. Today's events caught him completely off guard. While searching for Hannah, he couldn't understand why she had changed so much. Hannah had always been gentle, virtuous, and put him first in everything. Why had she become so unfamiliar after just a few days apart? She hurled harsh words at him and even raised her hand against him. Kevin couldn't understand why Hannah had become like this. He genuinely believed his relationship with Violet was completely innocent, so why did Hannah think there was something inappropriate between him and Violet? Rumors are circulating that he and Violet were once together. When it comes to their relationship, only Violet and he himself knew about it. He never told a third person, so how did outsiders find out? Kevin frowned as he looked at Violet's bruised face. Everything changed when he brought Violet back. Could it be that Violet had pulled some strings behind his back? As suspicion arose in his heart, Kevin quickly dismissed the thought. Violet was in such a pitiful state, frail and ill, he shouldn't doubt her. But then, who could have leaked the truth about him and Violet? Only the two of them knew about their past. If he didn't say anything, that left only Violet. Kevin looked at Violet again. "Violet, did you tell anyone else about what happened between us before?" Violet shook her head vigorously like a rattledrum. "No, I never told a soul." "Then how did it get leaked outside?" "It was Hannah who spread it. She knew about our past." "How is this possible?" Kevin couldn't believe Hannah knew about him and Violet. So could Violet be deliberately framing Hannah? This thought made him look at Violet suspiciously. Feeling guilty, Violet grew uneasy under Kevin's gaze. Unable to meet Kevin's eyes, she made an excuse to pour him a glass of water. "Kevin, have some water." Exhausted, hungry and thirsty from searching for Hannah, Kevin quickly drank the water. With his stomach growling from hunger, Kevin decided to make a bowl of noodles to satisfy his hunger. But just as I got up, I realized something was wrong. Everything around me began to distort, and my head felt heavy and dizzy. Standing before me, Violet, bruised and battered, looked unusually enticing tonight. Unable to control himself, Kevin lunged forward and embraced Violet. At 2 a.m, accompanied by the hospital leadership and a few close colleagues, I opened the door to our wedding home with red, swollen eyes. The moment the door swung open, strange sounds drifted out from inside. Everyone heard it clearly, and their expressions changed instantly. I took the lead, flipped on the light, rushed to the master bedroom, and kicked the door open with one swift motion. The scene inside the room unfolded before everyone's eyes. The people accompanying me were dumbfounded, and I let out a piercing scream. The cry echoed far into the late night, startling the neighbors on both sides. They threw on clothes and hurried over to see what was happening. Kevin and Violet, who had been embracing on the bed, were also startled awake. Seeing a room full of people, Kevin abruptly sat up. "You, what are you doing?" Then he noticed Violet in his arms, completely naked, and let out an incredulous scream. With a forceful push, Violet was sent tumbling to the floor with a thud. It's not what you think." Kevin tried to explain, wanting to prove his innocence. But in this situation, even if he had 100 mouths, he couldn't clear his name. I burst into loud sobs as the onlookers buzzed with gossip. This is absolutely disgraceful. Yes, I used to doubt if the rumors were true, but who would have thought they'd be caught red-handed in public? Disgraceful. Utterly disgraceful. Kevin and Violet were tied up and dragged away. I covered my face, crying uncontrollably, but inwardly, I was overjoyed. Kevin, Violet, now it's your turn to experience the pain I endured in my past life. Kevin and Violet were locked up. The incident caused an extremely negative stir, and the authorities arranged for them to be interrogated. Kevin surely wanted to deny it, but this wasn't something he could simply refute. After all, they were caught in the act, caught red-handed. Kevin kept protesting his innocence, claiming he'd been framed, so the authorities sent someone to inspect our marital home again. But they found nothing suspicious. How could they possibly find anything? After all, I was the one who set them up. Knowing Kevin and Violet would return to the marital home, and that they'd drink water, I'd put something in the electric kettle beforehand. When Kevin and Violet were taken away, I immediately washed both the kettle and teacups. All evidence had been eradicated. No one would ever find anything suspicious. Even if Kevin sensed something was wrong, he'd have no way to prove his innocence. While Kevin kept declaring his innocence, Violet reacted differently. Pushed to the brink, fear and terror made her confess everything, including faking illness to get Kevin to take care of her. Including her desire to marry Kevin. The outcome was predictable. Both Kevin and Violet were sent to the countryside. Kevin and Violet finally experienced the living hell I endured in the countryside in my past life. They were forced to labor during the day and dragged onto makeshift platforms for ideological re-education at night. The same ordeal I went through in my previous life, yet far worse for them. After all, my charges in that life were fabricated, whereas theirs were thoroughly deserved. Violet and Kevin suffered even more than I did. Kevin was beaten every other day. 6 months later, I saw Violet being publicly displayed when I visited with the medical support team. She looked like a puppet, her gaze sweeping over me sitting in the vehicle. Violet's vacant eyes suddenly flashed with viciousness as she lunged madly toward me. It's you. It was clearly you. You're the one behind this. Of course, Violet couldn't reach me. She only managed to charge forward a short distance before being violently dragged back. Amid the sound of punches and kicks, I expressionlessly turned and walked away while listening to her screams. On the final day before our return from the relief mission, Kevin came looking for me. He had grown dark and thin, clearly having endured considerable hardship. Kevin tried to approach me. Hannah, I need to talk to you. What are you talking about? I sneered at him with a mocking smile. His lips trembled as he struggled to explain. I didn't. Violet and I just had a past relationship. It's all over. I swear the one I've always wanted to marry is you. I just wanted to help her. She's the shameless one who set me up. He gritted his teeth and cursed Violet. That vile, treacherous woman. Violet is heartless and shameless. May she die a horrible death. Hannah, you have to believe me. So what? What difference does it make even if I believe you? Hannah, can you put in a good word for me? Help me get out of here. I stared at him unblinkingly. Leave? Where do you want to go? I want to be with you. Hannah, help me get out of here. I'll treat you well from now on. The moment we leave this place, we'll get married immediately. I swear I'll be good to you for the rest of my life. I burst out laughing. You think I'd still marry you? Why don't you take a look in the mirror? Kevin's lips trembled. But, don't you love me so much? We used to. Shut up. I interrupted Kevin with disgust. Kevin, don't even mention love, it makes me sick. Hannah, I was set up. It was Violet who tricked me. She's a scheming bitch. I should never have. I couldn't help but laugh. You've wronged Violet. She wasn't the one scheming against you. What? Then who plotted against me? Who was it? Far yet near, right before your eyes. You? It was actually you? Kevin looked at me in disbelief. Why? Why would you do this? Of course, it's for revenge. Kevin, you won't have a chance to go back. You'll stay here for the rest of your life, until you die. This is your fate. This is what you owe me. After saying that, I coldly turned and walked away. Kevin roared furiously behind me, "Just you wait, Hannah. Just you wait. I'll report you, I'll sue you. I'm waiting. I'm just afraid you'll never get that chance." I glanced back with a smile. "Oh, by the way, there's something I forgot to tell you. I'm getting married. The date is set for the 8th of next month. You know the groom too, your direct superior, Colonel James." "How could it be? You and Colonel James, how?" Kevin refused to believe it. "You're lying to me, aren't you? You must be lying. You loved me so much. I kept waiting for you to save me. How could you abandon me like this? How could you marry someone else?" Ignoring Kevin, I simply walked toward the nearby jeep. Kevin chased after me. "Hannah, explain this to me. Give me a proper explanation." He tried to grab my hand but missed as someone pushed him away first. Kevin fell to the ground, staring at the person who had shoved him. He recognized him. This was Colonel James's bodyguard, who always stayed close to the colonel. Now, this man was following me. So, was what I said true? Was I really going to marry Colonel James? Kevin slumped to the ground like a deflated balloon, muttering, "Why? Why is this happening?" No one answered him. Kevin knew one thing for certain: he would never get his chance to overturn the verdict in this lifetime.